Her expression gradually changed from formal to stern. Tender feelings like water, a good night is like a dream, enduring the road of Magpie Bridge home. The songstress couldn't recognize it and she peeked over and read it softly. If the feelings between the two were to last for a long time, how would they? When she read the last sentence, her voice gradually became softer and finally there was no more sound. On the pleasure boat, the two girls looked at the words on the sky lamp and for a moment they were dazed. Which girl didn't yearn for love? Which girl didn't fantasize about a period of sentimental love, finding a lover, helping each other in difficult times, and spending the rest of their lives together? But when the words, if the feelings between the two were to last for a long time, how would they be together day and night appeared, it caused the girls' concept of love to waver. Love had to withstand the test of a long separation. As long as they could love each other sincerely, even if they were apart for a long time, it was much more precious than the vulgar pleasure of being together day and night. This was a difference in realm and it far surpassed all the Qishi poetry they had seen before. The absolute beauty's red lips moved slightly, and she couldn't help but sing the immortal Magpie Bridge. This was a poem that she was extremely familiar with. The song was light and spirited as if it came from the clouds, and floated on the surface of the river far away. Slightly behind the two of them, two green-robed scholars stood at the staircase. When they heard the song, an extremely shocked expression appeared on their faces. "I really didn't expect Lady Ruoqing to be so talented," one of them murmured. "What a good immortal Magpie Bridge. Whether it is the choice of words or the concept, they are all superb. We are ashamed that we can't compare." The person beside him had a look of shame on his face, and he tore the piece of paper in his hand that had his poem written on it into pieces. He was the publicly acknowledged winner of the Qishi Poetry Meet tonight, and he had wanted to bring his work up to be evaluated. After hearing the immortal Magpie Bridge, he no longer had that kind of thought. If the feelings between the two were to last for a long time, how would they be together day and night? I'm afraid that just this sentence alone is enough to be passed down through the ages. After an unknown amount of time, the absolute beauty sighed. Her pretty face still had an expression of endless recollection, and it was obvious that her mood had been affected by this poem. At the same time, the two scholars also quietly came down the stairs and walked into the cabin from outside. In a split second, several people surrounded them. Perhaps it felt that the young man in front of it was very unfamiliar, so it barked at Li Yi twice. Suddenly, it fiercely sniffed its nose. When it glanced at the cornbread on the side, its eyes suddenly lit up. It bit the cornbread and disappeared in front of them at a shocking speed. Seeing this scene, the mischievous child was stunned, Xiaohuan was stunned, and Li Yi was stunned. The big man was also stunned. However, in the next moment, Li Yi suddenly heard an explosive roar in his ear. The big man's bear-like body had already chased after the dog. "Dehei, if you dare eat that cornbread, I'll kill you today to go with my wine." Seeing the figure of the man and dog disappear, Li Yi looked down at the bowl of black food on the ground that emitted a strange smell. He already didn't have the mind to wonder why the yellow dog had such a domineering name as Dehei. That big man gave them 2 pheasants, but his own family ate this kind of thing. This made Li Yi shocked and he couldn't help but sink into deep thought. In the Willow Leaf Village, the Liu family was like the landlord. They owned all the land, and although their lives weren't good, it wasn't too bad. However, most of the people were like the big man just now. They were almost equivalent to tenant farmers living at the lowest level of society. They were only able to feed their families and not starve to death. If they encountered a bad harvest year, they probably wouldn't even be able to fulfill this minimum requirement. Li Yi found out from Xiaohuan that last year was a disaster year with a large decrease in harvest, so everyone in the stronghold was currently living a very difficult life. In all fairness, if it was Li Yi himself, he definitely wouldn't do what the big man did under such circumstances. Perhaps, this was the most admirable aspect of the people in this world. Li Yi couldn't help but admit that he was moved by the simple and honest big man in front of him, or in other words, the simple customs of this world.